So in the next few lectures we're going to cover the 4 different types of API calls that you can make: the get, post, put and delete, and we'll be looking at how we do each of those in Rest Assured. So again, we're still writing our tests against the video game database. If you need to start that again, remember, just run a command prompt, browse to the folder where you downloaded and installed the video game database, and then just run gradle w boot run. So if we go back to our code base, we're going to create a brand new class for these tests. So we'll just right click, new Java class, and we'll call it video game DB tests. Get rid of this code up here and we'll do the import for Rest Assured. Import static io rest assured star. So that handles all of the imports with us. We don't have to worry about that anymore. So this is just going to be a very, very simple GET request. It's similar to what we've done already, but I'm just including it here for completion. And so we'll just call this test get all games. So I'm going to write, must call it public void. We must call the method get all games. So I'm going to write tests in the full format given when then. Even though there's going to be nothing in there for the given and nothing there for the when, I'll still write it out in full so that we could see where we would put stuff before we execute the call, the API call, where the actual call is made, and then afterwards as well. Just before we do that, I should remember to extend this class off of the test config, because we're going to use the test config class here that we already created in our framework. So this is going to handle the base URI for us. It's going to talk to us through our proxy. So I still have Fiddler running here as well, you can see. And it has a request spec and a response spec. So all of that code is going to be handled for us. So it's building on the previous lectures. So we're going to write our simple test now for getting all of the games. And we're going to write it, as I say, in given when then. So I'm just going to write given. And I'm not going to put anything in for the given, I'm just adding it there for completion. I just call when. So this is when we would call the endpoint. So if you remember last time, we specified our endpoint here for all of the video games. I'm actually going to refactor this because we're going to use this for the get call and the post call. So I'm just going to rename this quickly to, I'll just call it video games now for now. So when you're creating your framework, feel free to go back and rename stuff later on. That's absolutely fine. You can get into the habit of that. That's a good thing to do. Sometimes when your knowledge changes as you go further along, you can refactor and rename stuff. That's perfectly normal. So now we're just calling this endpoint given. So we've got nothing into our given, although we still have things being handled in our framework here. For example, adding the headers and bits and pieces like that. Normally they would go into the given. We're going to see how we would do that manually later, but for now we leave the given blank. When we get this endpoint, and we could just leave it there, that would be fine, but I'll add in the dot then as well, just for completion. So we have a full given when then, and that's just going to call that endpoint. Let's just go ahead and run that very quickly. That's going to spin up and run now. I'll just clear what's in my Fiddler so that we have fresh traffic. And we can see that the test passed okay. If we have a look at Fiddler, we can see that we called indeed this endpoint, localhost video games, and we got back lots of data on our video games. So that's working well. In the next lecture, we're going to cover how to do a post.